This teacup program is giving me the ability to work with people who are just like me. Science and technology, those are key things that we can use to progress.
Actually, you can just put that net in there, and if I stir anything up, just put it below me. We're just getting this project started, and the idea is to establish a baseline community so we know what bacteria normally live in the river. One of the big environmental issues here is coal bed methane production. And in order to get at it, we're actually interested in the bacteria that are living in the sediments that are 6 inches to a foot underneath. So as I start digging here, you'll notice I create quite a bit of sediment. So we're going to collect about a half bottle worth of stuff, and then we will collect the bacteria off the sediment in the lab. Once we have a community established, then we have a baseline for that community, and we can see how it gets changed as pollutants enter the river. And there's one other big part of what we're doing. This is cutting edge molecular biology. And this is where biology is today, and our students actually get to learn biology in a real context of real research using real molecular biology techniques.
Because before it just seemed like it was animals and plants, and that's about it. Now I'm learning about biology, microbiology, and just how that defines how the animals and the plants live. So it's just a whole different world that I never knew about. Honestly, this job and doing this whole summer has actually changed how people look at me, how I'm seen in the world, and even in my own family, like how my family's seen differently on this reservation.
It really is a community endeavor, and I think if you're going to build it in a place like Lame Deer that doesn't really have anything going, and it's very interesting to see how that community development affects the development of a college program. I mean, some people mention maybe a research institute, and I really think that's possible now. And when students succeed, it just changes their attitude about what they can do.
I would like to get my bachelor's in science. When the coal bed methane starts going, I would like to know the pros and cons of it. I want to learn more. I want to get educated, bring it back to the people on the reservation.
The great thing about Teacup is you get 5 years of funding. You know you're going to have it. It really gives you time to develop a program, over the long haul, so you can really do it right.
The whole idea of tribal colleges was for an Indian tribe to put together their own educational program governed by the Navajo people. Somebody learned that there's an Anglo guy in the community who got married to a Navajo lady who had some understanding of education. So they said, hey, maybe we need to talk with him. So they called for a gentleman by the name of Dr. Bob Russell. And he came into the meeting. And they asked him, what do you think? Dr. Russell immediately got excited. But his intention was that I will help you start it, but you need a Navajo person in the driver's seat. The Navajo delegation trying to seek federal money went to Washington 3 times. And every time they got blocked, they were not given the support. They said, this will be the last visit we're gonna make. So they were waiting for that moment to come, and the congressman came in, and immediately he got his gavel, and everybody knew what to do. They took their place. When everybody sat down, Yazbek stood up. Congress Espinal said, what does that man want? Why is he standing? And very silently, he took out his corn pot and said, I want to pray. So he went on to pray for the congressman. And he says, I don't know this man. I've only seen him right now. Bless him. Give him a heart. I know he's a good man. And the congressman says, yeah, I agree. And he says, I'll support it. And that's all it took. The federal government provided monies, and that's how the campus at Dene College was built. And my uncle, his name is Jack C. Jackson Sr. He was a young man at the time, and he was involved with these meetings from the very beginning. And he's still working with Dene College. He's about 75 years old. But he truly believes in the mission of what tribal colleges are all about.
I think science is very important. It's a very interesting subject. When I went to school, we only learned about the Western science. When I started working here at this school, I began to learn about science from Navajo's perspective, and it's very interesting. Our teaching is honored our mother, honored our father. That's the Indian people's teaching. That means your mother, the one that gave birth to you, and all the way back to the first woman, and they go back to Mother Earth, and Mother Earth is your mother. So if you mistreat your mother, there will be consequence.
That's why it's called four-winged saltbush. See these little seeds? I work for a U.S. Department of Energy contractor in Grand Junction, Colorado. We're responsible for the long-term stewardship of sites that have been cleaned up by the Department of Energy, dealing with the nuclear fuel cycle, weapons production. What we're doing with the students at Dene College is a phytoremediation project. Phyto meaning plants, remediation, a remedy to fix the problem. So the plants are being used to help clean up the contamination, or in this case, to control the hydrology so the groundwater plume doesn't flow down into the San Juan River floodplain, which is below us here. The Department of Energy is very interested in having the students involved to be informed, be aware of the hazards, the risks, and what we're trying to do to alleviate those risks in the long term. And this is their land, and so that's why they're the prime stakeholders.
See all that stuff there? That's all salts there. So if you lick that, it'll give you a salty taste. A lot of these plants, they're native to the Southwest. And this one is called greasewood. Sarcobatus vermiculatus is the scientific name. The Navajo name for this one is Dewiji gene. A lot of the students that we have here at the college, majority of them have not really heard these stories based on the old traditional teachings and how to relate that to science. And that's what I do. I like to teach what I call native science, Navajo science, because I learned a lot of it off my elders. In the past, a lot of our students were going out to other universities and they'll study things off the reservation. They don't realize that right here on the reservation, you got just about everything that you can think of out here that hasn't been studied yet. Because look at all this area that we have out here, all this natural laboratory that we have out here.
I know that as a student, you can make changes because in the past, we couldn't speak out, but now we can become educated and learn more about things through research, through studies, and our ancestors or our elders, they tell you to respect Mother Nature and you're not supposed to put it out of balance. And that's what they say global warming is. So there's a way to put things back in balance, and you as a student have to find that way. I want to be someday maybe that student who does that. Yeah, so.
As it turns out, the house I grew up in was built on tailings. And so you might say I have it in my blood. I think it's important that people who live here understand and can help come up with the remedies themselves in the future. And as they become scientists, it creates a lot of opportunities for them. Fortunately, Dene College is here that provides that opportunity.
I think it's very important, especially my own tribe, getting involved and becoming a scientist and being able to make an impact in our future.
had an interest in the Teacup program because I served as a program officer in the National Science Foundation when this program was first initiated. Because at that time, in the late 1990s, the colleges were really facing a digital divide. They were really behind in terms of technology and expertise and so forth. So I think they looked at the history of the National Science Foundation of working with the tribal colleges in terms of providing programs and curriculum. Those who were concerned about technology and what was not occurring in that arena wanted to make sure that they would try to get some additional funding to an agency that had that kind of interest and commitment in the tribal colleges. And that's how Teacup began.
For starters, the first engineers and scientists in this hemisphere were Native Americans. We are good at engineering and science. We had the first mathematics in this hemisphere, a very complex, sophisticated form of mathematics and science and engineering. So all of this is really nothing new to us. Maybe the technology is new and different, but the fundamental principles behind it are not new, the science, the engineering, the mathematics. Also, a lot of us try to emphasize the importance of retaining their culture and using this as a tool for modern survival.
Teacup has been great. They've given me the opportunity to work with other students, to also be an intern, give back to the school while also enhancing my knowledge in programming, which is a big thing when it comes to robotics, is the programming. I feel very fortunate to be a Native woman in the field of engineering. I don't think there's, very many of us, and, I just think it's great to get out there and be a part of science and technology and mathematics.
As Natives, we're very traditional, and the woman's place is in the home, taking care of the family. But it's not like that anymore. You have to go out and do other things, learn different things, bring other skills into the community. So I think that's what really makes SIPI the best school that it is, because we have the support here.
I can't speak for everyone, obviously. I can only speak for myself, and from a personal standpoint, I think it's important to be identified as a Native American engineer or scientist. We're all different anyway. We're all going to be recognized as being different. So we might as well be proud of who and what we are.
The environmental science program at Sitting Bull College believes in getting the students out in the field rather than just learning in the classroom. We want them to experience nature and experience what's happening in the river systems.
23 and a half.
Today we have our students in two groups doing two different things. One group is doing fish sampling, and they're using the electroshocking method. And one thing that they're trying to do is determine the species diversity of fish in the Cannonball River. We also have a group down the river that's conducting macroinvertebrate sampling. Macroinvertebrates are a great indicator of the health and quality of a water system. And today we'll be collecting the samples for comparison in the lab.
I've seen a lot of changes over from when I first went to college, when it was Standing Rock Community College, and then now we got the big science building, and there's just so much more opportunities that I believe that has come out of that.
There was a time when we used to work in the laboratories in the wintertime, and the gas lines would freeze up, and we just wouldn't be getting propane into the building. So during those months, we would be with winter coats, hats, and gloves on taking notes. And now we have this big science and technology building. A lot of the research equipment that's there was bought from the Teacup grant. If that grant wasn't there, those opportunities are gone. Sitting Bull College has made the move from rags to riches, to say. I mean, the students are recognizing it now.
In the future, I'll be a big part of something new here on Standing Rock.
One of the most important things about going to Sitting Bull College is passing on the knowledge to the younger people, like my son here. This is Ethan. He's 6 years old, and he's already beginning to learn some of the knowledge that I've learned in my program. I'm teaching him some of the herbs, also about the wildlife, and also about the buffalo. A lot of the herbs and the animals around here that were once very sacred to the people around here also come into play in science as well. Native American people are some of the first scientists, and that's what I'm passing on to him, is that science isn't just about science that you learn in a classroom. Every time we step outside, we're embraced in science.
There's one flag right there, orange flag. This is the GRIP project, the Great Plains Riparian Protection Project. Go for it. The concern was that there wasn't a lot of regeneration in the cottonwood species. And if a certain type of species of tree is not regenerating, there's something going on environmentally in that community, and there needs to be an assessment done to identify what those problems are.
Our intent is to identify the plants and herbs, and most importantly, we want to be looking for seedlings, tree seedlings, particularly cottonwoods. We want to see where the babies are coming back. Once we return from the field, we enter all our percentages into either ArcMap or AirDAS Imagine. By understanding the hydrology of certain watersheds, we can say, okay, cottonwoods are growing in this particular region, and we can predict later on where to find them.
When I was elementary school, we made robots out of Legos and little motors, so that was the first time I ever really started getting into robots. When I came here to OLC, they just recently started this robotics program, so I jumped on that right away. The NASA Mars mission has to do with taking the robot out to the Badlands here on the reservation. The Badlands is kind of the land structure you find on Mars, so they want us to take this robot and do experiments. Teacup helped me a lot, really did. It helped me with everything I needed to know to get started on this robotics program. In the future, just who knows what I could be doing.
It's a great opportunity, really, because without this, I mean, I don't have the money to go to an expensive school, but we still get to work with great stuff. That's what surprised me the most. And working with a robot that NASA uses. A lot of fun.
I started in math and science, and I went into nursing and graduated as a nurse and worked as a nurse. And I got the opportunity to work with our people on the reservation on every stage of health. And the last job that I took was a job that had to do with a lot of people. They were dying from different health reasons. And when you talk to the elderly, they always say, you know, it's the water, it's the water. And when I came back to school, I decided I wanted to go into environmental science so I can learn more about the water resources and the natural resources of the reservation. The Teacup program has done a lot. They assist us in our education, and it helps empower the students. You get to actually be here in your homeland and use these educational facilities and, you know, the instruments and everything from the labs, where we're not having to go somewhere to do this, to have somebody do this for us. we're learning right here in our own labs, in our own classrooms. And right here is the place where it's the most important.
When I first came here, I asked the 8th and 6th grade students, have you ever known a Native American scientist? And every one of them said no. So I had to let them know, I'm not a teacher. I'm not a trained teacher, I'm a scientist. And they didn't know how to comprehend that because they didn't know that those things existed. They knew there were Native doctors, and they know that there are Native lawyers. They've all seen them, but they've never seen a Native scientist before. They need to see that they're out there. And I told them there are more, and there are more coming, because with the help of the Teacup program, these programs are able to get bigger and expand.
Being homegrown, being from here, it was just a natural fit to end up teaching here, I guess. And I'm glad they invited me, hired me. So I feel I owe it to myself, I owe it to the people who helped me through college, the Teacup program, the people that funded the Teacup program, and especially to these kids on our reservation here. And maybe we can get some of these kids into areas like medical research. We need doctors and nurses really badly on the reservation right now. So if I can help the community that way, that's a big bonus. And get these kids interested in science is my main objective.
Native American teachers are going to help these kids because they're going to see, hey, if that guy could do it, I could do it too.
Up there? Over to the left?
Affiliated with the National Science Fund.
Let's just go here, hook it up. The hard part. How far am I going? Right underneath there, right?
If you study history at all, one of the things that you discover is that poor communities have to deal with, let's use sort of a common phrase, trickle-down technology. The problem with that is that by the time the technology trickles down and it's not worth much, so we're trying sort of a grand experiment. The Internet to the Hogan is designed to bring wireless technology here at Navajo Tech on the Navajo Indian Reservation, which is the size of West Virginia. We're constructing big towers. We put these big distance radios on them. Then we deploy something called canopy technology, which allows us to send radio signals within a 30-mile radius to homes, businesses, medical clinics, and schools. It's an unbelievable thing. We want to bring science to these remote communities where kids may not have a science teacher.
I have a computer at my house right now, but I don't have the internet to log on to. And basically that's why they're making this internet to the Hogan, so we can have it available to other communities, surrounding communities, not just here.
I think this project is what really drives me to bring more to the people I know, the community members. I've seen a lot of students go through the program and just not be able to find a job in this local area, and they're forced to move elsewhere.
So the students here are people who can climb a tower and engineer and install a world-class wireless grid, and they're going to have an advanced head start on already mastering those skills.
It's a big service to the community. It's a way to bring jobs, high paying jobs here, and eventually we'll become probably the Silicon Valley of the Navajo Nation, even New Mexico. We're probably, we push that. When I graduated from high school, I thought, I don't think I'll be doing anything for the Navajo Nation. I don't think I'll move off. That's kind of the idea. I'll move off to a bigger city and work there. But now it's like, I can't believe I'm going to do something for my own people. What's that?
Dad.
What's that?
Dad.
What's that? It says school.
Cool.
School? You want to go play down there?
Hey.
Hey, why?
Our people have always been scientists, and they knew that natural
world, and they could understand it. And I think that's what scientists are always trying to do, is understand, so we can use our culture and use the best of both worlds. I've seen students interested and curious and, working together. I think that's a good start. It's getting that little seed to grow.
I was unemployed. They took my job and shipped it out. And I came back home and I thought, what am I going to do then? And somebody said, go to school. I've never been to school before, so I said, well, okay, fine, I'll just try to go to school. And, it's never too late to go back to school. You can always learn. But science, there's always something to discover.
Most of these students that come to college are first-generation higher ed students, so they clearly are role models, no question about that. So they are definitely setting the groundwork and setting standards for other young people that are around them.
I think having your own project, actually seeing it through to the completion, designing it, talking about it, thinking about how to change it, is just a great life skill.
This college has kind of gave me a push. And that's all I need, is just a little push. And once I get going, somebody better look out.
TCOP has helped me in so many ways, just focusing on education, giving me the opportunity to have a dream to continue my education.
That's why you're here, is to learn, to study, to get educated, to go out there and work and, try to change the world.